What's up, everybody? It's the next episode of Randomz. It's your boy Ant. I'm here with my boy.
All Mental. What's going on, man?
What's good, brother?
Chilling.
All right. So, what do you do, my man?
I'm a hip hop connoisseur. I've decided that when I was in school, I went to Kane University in Union, New Jersey. Shout out to them. I got my undergraduate in mass communication and history, and I had the radio show there, WKNJ 90.3 FM. The first show that I did was with a friend of mine. My name is Shah Mega. Shout out to Shah. Okay. And we had a show together, and then the following semester, I ended up doing a show with another homie of mine, Zadie and John J. Hustle. And then I stopped doing that show, and I ended up getting on to do a show called Air to the Streets with DJ Absurd. Now I'm here on 8 Squad Rebel Radio every Monday night between 8 and 10, and I do the show with Queen B, DJ Polarity, and A Sharp.
Nice.
Every Monday night from 8 to 10 is an underground hip-hop show. The goal of the show is to promote the underdog and let them rise. Don't get me wrong now, if we have a chance to interview Jay-Z or Nas, we're going to do it. But the goal of the show is to promote independent artists, up-and-coming artists, and to give light to the independent hip-hop scene across, if we can, around the world.
Absolutely. That sounds like a really good thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, is there any interviews that you've done recently that might just stand out to you that people might want to look up and research now?
I did an interview with Jake Palumbo, who's actually a producer, an engineer, and an MC. He's originally from Knoxville, Tennessee. Now he's been living in Brooklyn, New York for about 15 years. He has a recording studio called Sound Lab Recordings right there in Brooklyn. A very nice young man. Well, he's an adult, but he makes dope production, dope beats, and just an all-around good dude. Check him out.
Okay.
He's actually working on an album with Elder Sensei from the Artifacts, which I've had interviewed Elder Sensei, rest in peace to DJ Chaos. When I did it, he actually spun for us as a guest DJ when I was at Kane, when I had the show with Absurd, and this one where the station was located in Bloomfield, New Jersey. DJ Chaos came, he got on the ones and twos and spun for us as well.
Nice.
And again, rest in peace to Chaos.
Okay, no doubt. I also met you at the Fresh Fest, man. What was you doing around there?
The Jersey Fresh Jam, it's been happening for years now, and every year I keep saying I'm gonna go. Uh-huh. And the thing is that somehow either something comes up and I never make it, or I'm out of town or whatever. So this year I was like, let me see what this thing is about. And Absurd picked me up from the train station in New Brunswick. I went down and I was like, oh, this is dope. All the graffiti and the art. Yeah, it was really something, man. And just all the DJs cutting up and scratching. And what I liked about it is that I didn't realize how many people from all over the state of New Jersey went to this thing, and even people from New York and Philly would come out, because a lot of times when you're in your own world, like the way how it is, like Trenton is like that dividing line between, there's even an argument if there really is a central New Jersey. But that's a whole other discussion. It's like there's that thing of where a lot of times below Trenton, I never really went down that way. I've always been a 95 North dude, a Jersey Turnpike North dude when I lived in Jersey, heading into New York. You know what I mean? I don't really know much about Philly. And it's ironic, when I went to Kane University and you meet people from all over the state, I met students who were from like South Jersey, Camden, Trenton, Willingboro, LNC, who were like, they never been to New York before, and I thought that they were crazy. And then I told them I'd only been to Philadelphia like 3 times in my life. They thought I was the crazy one. So you see so it's like, look who's talking.
Yeah, no doubt. Mm-hmm. I mean, like the bordering, how Jersey sits.
Yeah, and the way it is. Because I met people from Inglewood down there at the Jersey Fresh Jam, from Jersey City. I was like, oh, wow. People. Then of course, you had the people from Trenton and Camden, Willingboro, and that area who came out.
Of course.
But it was a good day. And the weather was nice, and it got chilly in the end, though.
Yeah, it was lit.
It was lit. It was a good time.
It was a great time. Shout out to everybody who threw that event. And you know what I'm saying? It was just a great time. You know what I'm saying? All right, so I see you got a big background in hip hop. What were some of your influences in hip hop? Like, who do you really like to listen to nowadays?
Nowadays, I used to be one of those older generation people who were like, I can't stand these young boys and the young kids. But as I've gotten more mature, and I'm like, you know what, you have to give the new generation a chance. You don't want to be like that bitter old man who never made it, number one. And number two, I believe it's that guy, with all that was going on, the racial tension in the United States and the police brutality. The other day I was driving the car, which I know the song was about 2 months old. Well, now with YouTube, the song come out, but doesn't mean it's properly promoted yet. I think it was Lil Baby had the song called The Big Picture.
Okay.
I think I know it wasn't Da Baby, it was Lil Baby. And again, I wouldn't say he's the super lyrical dude, by no means. But I actually liked the song and the stuff that he was saying. I was like, wow, some of these young artists do have messages, but you have to really give it a chance. Again, I'm I'm not a big little baby fan to be like I buy his albums or I download his music because I like that song. And again, different strokes for different folks. What I might like, you might not like, and vice versa. You have to give everyone just a chance to. And I was like, wow, this record is actually dope. But as far as new MCs, I like J. Cole. I actually like the ASAP Mob. Again, like I said, some guys on there's super lyrical with it, but also shout out to ASAP Rocky. His birthday was just this past Saturday, October 3rd.
Oh, word. Happy belated.
Yep, happy belated. I seen that on blogs and all the sites. But yeah, so little things like that, I tell people you have to give people a chance and also understand where they come from. Somebody actually said this 2 or 3 times, and again, this isn't me. But I won't even say it, but man, I'll say it. Who it is what it is. People have the right to their opinion. Somebody actually tried to say that Tekashi 6ix9ine sounds like Onyx. A few people have said that. I couldn't believe it, but again, different strokes for different folks. That ain't me. I would never. People have said that. About 2 or 3 people that I ran into who don't even know each other who said like, "Yo, Tekashi 6ix9ine reminds them of Onyx," and I was like,
I understand the train of thought that goes into that because he's saying, but no.
Exactly.
Okay?
Agreed. No. But again, to each his own.
Right.
How you feel. And then as far as the influences come from, I admire the awesome too, Teddy 10 Special K, the originators of the Mix Show,
nice,
DJ Red Alert,
Uh-huh.
Ralph McDaniels from Video Music Box.
Shout out to Ralph McDaniels, big inspiration.
He's been holding it down for nearly like over 35 years now.
Absolutely.
The awesome two in these guys, and Jazzy J, the original Jazzy J, DJ Jazzy Jeff, DJ Cash Money from out of Philly. These are all people I think people should look up and know who they are, because what I didn't like, and again, we've often heard the term in hip hop of culture vultures, and even people who are of our complexion, Black and Hispanic people, they could be culture vultures with this.
Very
I don't
true.
care what anybody's. It's not.
True.
And what I tell people is that a culture vulture is somebody who comes into a culture for all the wrong reasons and gives nothing back to it. As far as Lil Yachty, in my opinion, he is a culture vulture. In an interview, when they wanted him to freestyle over Premiere, but he's like, I don't know about them old dudes and I ain't listening to that. It's like, these are the foundation. I mean, you might not like everything, but you have to give them a certain level of respect.
I want to say something about that. I mean, that's actually why I stopped listening to Troy Ave. You know what I'm saying? He tried to disrespect one of the greats. He tried to disrespect Nas. He was saying that Nas was not all that or something like that. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with that guy. You know what I'm saying? Because when it comes to legends or icons in the hip hop game, you got to have that respect.
And even if you might not like them, you have to admire. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication to get to that standpoint.
Yes,
people
sir.
don't realize that.
That's right.
People want to say, oh, this is pay to play, whatever it might be. The point is that, and to sustain at that point, you have to respect that and admire that.
That's right.
And again, when people want to talk about pay to play, you have to be careful when you talk about radio stations and shows and stuff. Be careful what you're saying, because payola is illegal, number one. It's not pay to play. When you go on Top 40 Radio, you're paying for advertising. Be careful, because it still is quote unquote, if you want to consider it payola, if that's how you want to view it, but it's legal. It's not illegal.
So, with you being a radio show host, has anyone ever offered you funds to play their songs?
No, and I've never taken that, because this is it's not commercial radio, so I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, if I'm working at a Hot 97 Power 105.1, I'm not doing payola, no. But there's a way, and you wouldn't even see the radio host or personality. It's another party. It's payola if you go to DJ Schmo and you say, look, take this money, play my song. That's wrong. But if you do it the proper way, there's a way and that's not payola. Again, it is known as you're paying for advertising. That's what it's called.
Okay.
Because years ago, the Top 40 station, Hot 97 right here in New York City, they were getting investigated for it, and at the time, Tracy Cloud, who was the program director, said that no, that isn't what goes on. And because that's illegal. You can't just go to the DJ and give them the money. It's called advertising.
Okay.
And that's why I tell people you have to be careful with your words. As we spoke about before, words are powerful, and you don't want people to misquote you and say that, oh, he said this or she said that.
Absolutely. Very much
You
so.
can get
Words are
yourself
very powerful.
And you have to be careful, just like I tell the difference between saying somebody is a kidder as opposed to being a liar. As opposed to a joker as opposed to being a liar. Gotta be careful with your words, because a lot of times in this world people say if you said it, you meant it.
That's true.
People,
I mean, but a lot of people use words frivolously. They
and
don't even understand the impact.
The impact that it can have.
Absolutely.
And that's what we have to understand and realize, that we can't let a situation bring us out of character.
Right.
That even when you're in a happy, good mood, an example is you could be crossing the street, see a friend you haven't seen in years, you're so excited, you forget that the light is green and you don't have the right of way, and you can get hit by the car, and you'll never see that friend again. That friend can never see you again.
That's
Point is that at least make sure you have to look left and right, up and down, north and south, east and west.
And so pay attention to the words that you use, before they come out your mouth.
Yep. Don't let the situation get you overexcited.
That's right. All right. So I also wanted to ask you, what type of artists come through here to,
The artists that we've had come through on the show, we've had Master Ace. As I mentioned, we've had Elder Sensei from the Artifacts. I've interviewed Lord Finesse. We've had Group Home. We've had Roxanne Shante, Chill Rob G. So, and we did a phone interview with Sadat X. I had him come to the last station when I was at WKNJ. So we've had K Def and Larry O. They've come through. The awesome dude come by to visit us. So, and then we also get the up and comers like Rashid Chappelle. We've got in the Crimson Twins from out of Newark right here. We've also had T-Top, the battle rapper. He's been on the show. Lada Zay, they've been on the show. So we try to keep it as a hip hop show for the people.
Absolutely. I mean, has there been any eccentric personalities to come through the door?
And when you say eccentric, what do you mean when you say?
I mean, somebody that just kind of stood out to you, yo, we never had a character like this here before. You know what I'm saying?
I'll say the one of the most fantastic freestyles that we've had on the show was when the Baltimore Public Housing came through, which is Jay Royal, Ill Conscience, and Guy Grams. The freestyle was just impeccable, and they were going back and forth, and it was just like, whoa.
Wow, I'm probably going to look that up in a minute. You know what I'm saying?
That's just some dope freestyles, and it's just like the way how they do it, and it was just a good unit of people.
Nice. Man, that's dope, man. All right, so I want to step away from the work for a second and just ask you a question about COVID-19. How has COVID-19 affected you? Because this year has been kind of crazy. How has COVID-19 affected you?
Well, COVID-19 has made me sit back and realize you have to take what's important and examine what you want out of life and know who you are. Because I'm the type of individual, I was always at different shows and events. COVID-19 stopped all of that. You had to just stay in your house, do what you have to do. And also, it was on Facebook one time when COVID-19 first came in, it was really started to make the impact. Again, I'm not in church every Sunday, but I do believe in the higher power. I do believe in God.
Right.
I was born a Christian, but now I've gotten over to become more spiritual. With that being said, there was a meme I saw that said, you worshiping musicians, we're going to shut down the civic centers. You worshiping athletes, we're shutting down the stadiums. You worshiping actors and actresses, we're shutting down the movie theaters and Broadway. You're worshiping money, we're going to shut down the stock market. And it was like, wow. That COVID shut everything down.
Everything. Wow. When you look at it like that.
When you look at it like that, businesses are going out of business that have been around for years. Lord and Taylor's, Century 21. And you're like, how did these come? How? But it's the impact of the economy. Absolutely. This is what goes on.
Absolutely.
And it's like, wow. You say Modell's was already going out of business when the COVID hit it. But still, it's like Modell's out of business after all these years.
Yeah. I say, are there any lessons that you might have learned from this whole COVID?
What I've learned is that you never know when the rainy day can come, so you have to save your money. Put aside for that rainy day.
Absolutely.
People don't realize that savings is important. Again, we all want to go out and have a good time, which you should, because life is short and you must enjoy yourself. You have to go out and have a good time, and you have to live it up. But at the same time, you have to put aside money for that rainy day, because you don't know what could happen. Who would have ever thought that the way that they were going crazy for toilet paper to people?
Yeah.
And for hand sanitizer and stuff we take for granted.
I'll tell you, absolutely. That actually reminds me of a book that I read not too long ago. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. And it was talking about the importance of keeping 1/10 of your earnings, to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Don't give it to anyone. That is always yours, no matter what happens. Put it away for you and have that money make money. So if you haven't read that book, anybody that may be watching or listening to this, definitely go out and read that book. It's very high on my read list. But a question for you: you have any books that you would recommend for any of our watchers and listeners?
One book I would recommend is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Michael Kiyosaki, which is a book which, again, these books, they might not make you get rich, but it's an insight and it's a perspective. And this is why I tell people why certain books like that I think are a good perspective, is because it can teach you other ways. Because he or she that knows it all knows nothing at all.
Right.
Again, just like school, I tell this to people. I don't regret going to college, and I would do it all over again if I had to. But knowing what I know now, certain things I would have done differently. With that being said, I tell this to people that school is giving you an idea and a perspective. You have to have the drive and the want in you to be successful.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, I'm not saying you gotta be, everything is about the almighty dollar, but you have to have that drive and want to better yourself, because you have some people who are high school dropouts who are multimillionaires. Then you have others who have college degrees who are homeless. It has to do with a give and take, because remember, if you have common sense, drive, and education, you can do anything. But many of us only have 2 out of the 3. Fortunately, thanks to my mom and dad, I was fortunate to get a college education. And through my parents, I had that drive in me, and then you have to also have common sense. But at the same time, I tell this, and this is all of us, he or she, the smartest man once said, the only thing I know is I know nothing at all. And as I tell this to people, common sense isn't always so common. Not everybody is always going to have drive, and education, not everybody can always have the formal education. You have to. These are things that also you can learn with time. You have to have that in you. And a lot of people just don't have. You have to have the want and the need.
Absolutely.
And just reading.
Absolutely, I think that's a real big key is reading. Reading is almost like a hack. It's almost like a cheat code to life. The more you read, the more you know, the more you grow. And then it also mixes up the circles that you can get involved with. You'd be like, okay, I know this. Okay, now I can go sit at this table. You know what I'm saying? And then build.
And then also, what it does, it helps your vocabulary. It makes you to understand stuff in another way. A lot of times, people just want to run the mouth and go.
Yes.
And it's true. And but at the same time, you have to also sit back and listen. And that's the problem with a lot of us. Remember this in life: you were given 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 2 hands, and 1 mouth. But as human beings, we use this the most, and it gets us into trouble. If we use the others more, we would all be further in life, myself included.
Wow, that was like deep. I had to just pause right there for a second. that was money right there. Absolutely, you know what I'm saying? Like if people would just take the time out to listen. You know what I'm saying? They could solve a lot of their problems by listening. They could solve a lot of their problems by watching. They could solve a lot of their problems by just being careful and not getting themselves into certain situations in the first place. But I'm not trying to preach. It is what it is. But yeah. So also wanted to ask you about what else has been going on other than just the radio.
Just the radio, and I just have a few other ideas that I'm working on, which I don't want to divulge as yet. Okay. But a few ideas of a few things that I have in the works that I'm working on. Just the ideas of a documentary I'm trying to work on, and then also a few more, because I also did show promotion. So after COVID, I am looking to do another show, but again, too, we have to see how all this blows over, because it's just a scary time we're living in right now.
Yeah.
Who would, like I was telling you on the ride over here, who would have ever thought New York City would be shut down, the trains, between 1 and 5 in the morning? I know. How is New York City the city that sleeps?
Never sleeps.
It never sleeps. but it's like, when you see this, it's like, this really has to, this is a warped world we're living in right now.
Factual.
But we're here now, and all we can do is just, again, whatever religion you might be, whether it's Jesus, Buddha, Allah, whatever, God, whatever you're going to call it, was the rock that you pray to, you have to just keep in prayer and keep the faith.
That's right, keep the faith. Absolutely. Definitely. All right, so before we wrap this up, is there anything you want to say to the people before we go?
2 things, as I said, remember this in life. Common sense isn't always so common, theories can be broken, and logic isn't always so logical. Always remember that. So, always, you just have to sometimes sit back and just look at things, because even with theories, common sense, and logic, they can be broken. Because we as individuals only go on what we know, right, and what we see, and how we experience things. I can't speak for what you might have experienced and understood, because as men and women, as all of us, we have different backgrounds, different lifestyles. And doesn't mean that you're a good person or a bad person, but it's another perspective. And that's what people don't realize. And it's okay, but then we can also educate and learn from one another and say, you know what? I can see why he's gonna think that way, or understand why she might think that way, and why they're gonna do that. Again, it doesn't make it right, but it gives an understanding. And a lot of times we only go on certain things that we see or that we hear, or we don't do our research. As when individuals, when I hear the nonsense of how, well, you know, black folks sold themselves in slavery. Nah. It was an indentured servitude. Remember that. That's what it was at first. It was African prisoners. Then when word got out what was happening over in the New World, and it went back to Africa, they were like, the captain was like, no, you're not going to do this again. They were like, all right, y'all want to come, but we taking you over here now. So be careful when people want to say this. So no, there's a whole other story backdrop behind this. You have to just get and go what they said. Well, they said no, get the whole story, and that's a lot of times we're only hearing one perspective of something. You have to see what went on to it. Just like when they talk about how y'all got them black colleges out there. No, they're historically black, and it's because the government set that up because of segregation. But now anyone can go to them. They're public institutions. You can't say them you can't go, because there's a few historically black colleges that have a lot of Caucasians going up in there. Like Howard Law School has a large white population at their law school, North Carolina Central.
Wow. See, I never knew something like that. That's wild.
Because a lot of times we only go from what we hear and what we know. We don't research. And when we hear that term, what scares people is when you put that term. Just like the whole thing with Black Lives Matter. No one ever said all lives didn't matter. All lives do matter, but there wouldn't be a need for that if our lives did matter. And this is what people have to understand. It didn't just come out of nowhere. This stuff stemmed from stuff that was happening all the time.
That harks back to what you said about common sense. You know, common sense might not be that common no more. Because if we say Black Lives Matter, obviously all lives do matter. However, Black lives have been left out of the equation.
Exactly. And yes, and so if you want to find me on Twitter and on Instagram at All Mental, and on Facebook at Anthony Chin.
Absolutely.
and again, shout out to all the low heads out there. I told like I'm with the Low Lives IOT. I'm a low head.
Okay, what's that about?
The Low Lives were a group back in the day in the 80s and 90s. You know, when Polo was always a popular brand, everybody had loved Low, and there was many different crews running around New York City. And there was two crews from out of Brooklyn, one from Marcus Garvey Village, known as Team USA, and the other one from St. John's and Utica, known as Ralphie's Kids. In '88, they came together and formed the Low Lives, such as the rapper Thurston Howell III, who's from out of Brownsville, Brooklyn.
Okay.
And if you watch, and again, you see, he was from Brooklyn there, but there was also an MC who came out before him, known as Boostin' Kev, who had a song called "I Be Boosted," called Boostin'. You can look this up. He was from Bed-Stuy, rest in peace, to Boostin' Kev. And then a lot of times I was just always a low head. And then I met with Son Low from the IOT fam. We became friends, and then I got down with the IOT family, and I got to meet the other low heads. Shout out to Bet, Has, Disco, and all the other low lives out there, and that's really what it was about. It's a positive movement, bringing people together. And it's about seeing, and it's also about a movement and a culture, and there's different people. You have people in the movement who do graffiti, some who are MCs, some have clothing lines, some who cook. There's difference. Basically, it's sort of like a fraternity. That's the best way to try to describe it. To try to make it like a fraternity outing. And shout out to Racklow, who does his barbecue every year. He didn't do it this year because with COVID, he's always throwing events. Polo Easter Sunday he does, St. Patrick's Day for Polo, and and he also do the Low Goose on the Deuce in January. Which was an event they did this year before COVID, but they do it every year. Okay. Right in Times Square in New York City. And now, as you see, you have people who come from all over the world to these events, from Japan, Canada, brothers and sisters all over the place. And it's really just a camaraderie, and it's another way of networking. You're meeting other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I try to tell people. Life, it's not about your network is your net worth, and who you associate with. You have to know that, and also and that plays a big role in meeting positive brothers like yourself.
Thank you.
So shout out to Jay Crush who introduced us.
Yo, absolutely. Shout out to my brother Jay Crush, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I mean, all right. So with all that being said, I guess we're gonna bring this interview to a close. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time today.
Thank you, brother.
Yo, until the next time, y'all stay cool. Y'all stay safe. Peace.
Peace.